Jasmine Davis stood in front of the glossy entrance of La Petite Étoile, one of the most exclusive restaurants in the city. It was a special day, her anniversary with her husband, Marcus. She wore a beautiful dress that accentuated her curves and glistened under the streetlights. Her natural curls framed her face perfectly, and the excitement in her eyes was palpable. Marcus, holding her hand, looked equally dapper in his tailored suit. They had heard so much about the restaurant's exquisite French cuisine and had managed to get a reservation weeks in advance. Today was supposed to be perfect. As they approached the reception, the doorman gave them a quick, dismissive glance. His expression turned steely, and he blocked their path. "May I help you?" he asked, his tone dripping with condescension. Jasmine, unfazed, smiled warmly. "Yes, we have a reservation under the name Davis. For 7 p.m. The doorman's eyes narrowed as he scanned the list on his desktop. His lips curled into a smirk. "I'm sorry, but I don't see your name here. Are you sure you have the right night?" Marcus stepped in, his voice calm but firm. "Yes, we do. I have the confirmation email right here." He pulled out his phone and showed the doorman the reservation. The doorman barely glanced at it before shaking his head. "I'm afraid there's been a mistake. We're fully booked tonight." Jasmine felt a pang of disbelief. "We booked weeks in advance. There must be something you can do." Before the doorman could respond, a group of well-dressed patrons approached. She turned to Marcus, her voice tinged with frustration. "This isn't right? We did everything by the book." Marcus nodded, his jaw clenched. "This isn't about a reservation, James, it's about us." Jasmine's mind raced. The subtle, yet pervasive sting of discrimination was all too familiar. They had faced it before, but tonight, on such a special occasion, it felt particularly cruel. Determined not to let this injustice slide, she squared her shoulders and turned back to the security man. "I'd like to speak to the manager," she said firmly. A few minutes later, a tall man with an air of authority emerged. His name tag read Pierre, General Manager. Pierre's eyes flicked from Jasmine to Marcus, assessing them quickly. "What seems to be the problem?" he asked, his voice polite but distant. Jasmine explained the situation, showing the reservation confirmation again. Pierre examined it closely, then looked up, a hint of discomfort in his eyes. "I apologize for the inconvenience. There seems to have been a mistake with our system. Please, come inside. We will find a table for you." Relief washed over Jasmine, but the damage was done. The night's joyous anticipation had been tainted. They followed Pierre inside, the opulent decor a stark contrast to the coldness they had felt at the door. As they were seated, Jasmine noticed the curious glances from other diners. She held her head high, refusing to be shamed. They ordered their meal, the rich aromas and elegant presentation momentarily distracting them from the earlier incident. Halfway through their dinner, the soft strains of a piano filled the air. Marcus reached across the table and took Jasmine's hand, his eyes reflecting the candlelight. "I'm sorry tonight didn't start as we planned," he said softly. "But I'm glad we're here together." Jasmine squeezed his hand, her heart swelling with love and pride. "Me too. We deserve to be here, just like anyone else." As they savored their dessert, Pierre approached their table again, this time with a genuine smile. "I hope you're enjoying your evening. As an apology for the earlier misunderstanding, your meal is on the house." Jasmine and Marcus exchanged glances. The gesture was appreciated, but it didn't erase the hurt. Still, they accepted graciously, choosing to focus on the positives. As they left La Petite Étoile, Jasmine took a deep, breath of the cool night air. Marcus wrapped his arm around her, and they walked together, stronger for the experience. They knew the fight against discrimination was far from over, but tonight, they had claimed their place, standing tall against the shadows of prejudice. And that, in itself, was a victory. As Jasmine and Marcus strolled down the dimly lit street, they reflected on their evening. They had faced a setback, but their love and determination carried them through. The next morning, Jasmine sat at the kitchen table, her laptop open. She had slept poorly, the events of the previous night playing over in her mind. Marcus, sensing her unrest, made her a cup of coffee. "What are you working on, love?" Jasmine sighed, taking a sip of the warm, comforting drink. "I'm writing about what happened last night. It's not just about us, it's about making sure this doesn't happen to others." Marcus nodded, his eyes filled with pride. "You have a powerful voice, James. People will listen." Jasmine was a respected journalist, known for her articulate and passionate writing. She had tackled various social issues in her columns, and today, she intended to shed light on the subtle yet insidious nature of everyday discrimination. She began typing, her fingers flying over the keys. "Last night, my husband and I celebrated our anniversary at La Petite Étoile, an exclusive restaurant renowned for its exquisite French cuisine and ambience. We had looked forward to this evening for weeks, securing a reservation well in advance. However, our night took an unexpected turn when we were denied entry, despite having a confirmed reservation. The security man's dismissive attitude and the manager's initial reluctance to accommodate us were not mere oversights. They were reflective of a deeper, more pervasive issue that countless people of color face daily. It wasn't about a mistake with the reservation system, it was about the systemic biases that continue to plague our society. As a black woman, I am no stranger to these microaggressions. They are subtle, often dismissed as misunderstandings, yet they chip away at our dignity and sense of belonging. Last night was a reminder that, despite our progress, we still have a long way to go. We eventually dined at La Petite Étoile, and while the food was exquisite, the bitter taste of discrimination lingered. This experience has reaffirmed my commitment to using my voice to advocate for change. We must continue to challenge these injustices, to call them out and hold those responsible accountable. To those who have faced similar experiences, I stand with you. We must share our stories, for it is through our collective voices that we can effect change. The following day, Jasmine read through her piece, tweaking a few sentences before sending it off to her editor. She knew this story would resonate with many, and she hoped it would spark meaningful conversations. Jasmine's article was published. It quickly gained traction, shared across social media platforms and picked up by several news outlets. Comments flooded in, many from people who had experienced similar discrimination. Jasmine's decided to create open meeting call Voice of Change, where they opened the floor for others to speak. One by one, people stood up, sharing their personal stories of discrimination. This marked the beginning of a new era for all people of color,